Have you ever read two different headlines about the exact same event and felt like you were reading about two completely different realities? Well, you kind of were. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a secret code, a hidden layer of grammar that literally builds the world you read about every single day.
Okay, let's just dive right in with an example. Take a look at these two sentences. On the one hand, you have, the police attacked the protesters, and on the other, violence broke out. Both could be describing the very same moment.
But they tell radically different stories, don't they? One has a clear actor and a clear sense of blame. The other one, well, it makes it sound like something just sort of happened on its own, like a storm rolling in. So how can a tiny tweak in wording have such a massive impact? The answer is hiding in the grammar.
So let's really break this down. Let's get into this tale of two sentences.
In that first sentence, the police attack the protesters. Everything is crystal clear. We have a doer, the police, and we have a receiver of that action, the protesters. It's direct. Responsibility is baked right into the sentence structure. No ambiguity there.
But now look at sentence B. It's like a grammatical magic trick. Violence broke out. Poof! The doer is just gone. They've vanished from the picture. The violence is presented as this thing that happened all by itself, without a clear cause or agent. It just happened.
So what is this powerful system working behind the scenes? What allows this to happen? It's time to introduce the big idea that solves this whole puzzle, what we might call the grammar of our experience.
The key concept here is something called transitivity, and this comes from the brilliant linguist M.A.K. Halliday. Now, don't let the fancy word scare you. This isn't about boring rules. It's the entire system our language uses to map out reality, to encode who does what to whom, what's going on, and all the circumstances surrounding it. It's the blueprint of experience.
And you can break down pretty much any clause into three basic parts. First, you've got the process. That's just the verb, the action happening. Then you've got the participants, the who or what involved in that action. And finally, the circumstances. That's all the extra context. The where, the when, the how. So now that we have those basic building blocks, let's see how they actually come together to build these different worlds. Because it turns out, the type of verb or process you choose changes everything.
We can really boil it down to three main flavors of verbs that we use to describe reality. You've got material processes, which are all about physical doing and happening. Then there are mental processes, which cover our inner world of sensing and thinking. And finally, relational processes, which just describe states of being and having.
Let's start with the most obvious one, material processes. The protagonist built the shelter. This is the grammar of action, right? You've got an actor, the protagonist, doing something that directly affects a goal, the shelter. This is how we talk about making things happen in the world.
But now, we can shift gears entirely to a mental process. She knew the truth. See how we've moved from the outside world of action to the internal world of consciousness? Here, we have a sensor, the one doing the thinking or feeling, and a phenomenon, the thing being thought about. This is the grammar of psychology, of perspective.
And finally, the simplest of all, relational processes. The house was empty. Nothing is really happening here. It's not about doing or thinking. It's just about a state of being. We have a carrier, the house, and we're just giving it an attribute, empty. This is the grammar we use for pure description.
Okay, so we've got these different ways to build sentences. So what? Why does it matter? Well, this is where it gets really important. Let's look at how these choices are used out there in the real world to shape how we see power, agency, and blame.
Let's go back to another comparison. On the one hand, the soldiers burned the village, and on the other, the village burned. Once again, same physical event, but the grammar creates two totally different realities. The first is a clear intentional action with a very obvious actor.
But that second version, the village burned, again, it frames it as something that just happened. So you have to ask yourself, who is missing from that story? The soldiers, the ones who did the burning, have been completely erased from the sentence.
And this is absolutely not an accident. It's an incredibly powerful rhetorical tool. The linguist Paul Simpson just nails it when he says that this agentless form allows a text to represent even a violent action as an event without an agent, as something that happened rather than something that was done. It's a way to make the people responsible just disappear.
And that is the critical insight here. Grammar is never neutral.
The choices people make when they write or speak can literally hide responsibility, they can remove blame, and they can paint victims as these passive objects that are only ever acted upon, instead of as people with their own agency.
But here's the really cool part. Now that you can see this code, you've got a new analytical superpower. You can apply this to absolutely everything you read.
From now on, whenever you're reading anything, a news article, a history textbook, even a simple advertisement, ask yourself these questions. What kinds of verbs are being used most often? Who keeps getting the role of actor, the one with power? Who is always stuck as the goal, the one being acted on? And, maybe most importantly, who's been left out of the story entirely?
You see, this whole thing reframes what grammar even is. It's not just some boring set of rules you have to memorize for a test. It is a powerful, dynamic, and often very political tool for building worlds. Every single sentence is constructing a particular version of reality. These choices are always there, hiding in plain sight in the very structure of our sentences. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you can see the code, what hidden worlds and what hidden agendas are you going to uncover?